Hello everyone. So this is actually my third video for Marianne Williamson. I had been watching a lot of people's very genuine outpourings from the heart about how Marianne Williamson's campaign had inspired her, and I realized that that was true for me also, but my first two videos were very wonky because I think I had come from watching a lot of Sam Cedar, and I was arguing with someone who was not there. So I think that those videos really tell more of a story about my perspective on politics in general, and not that much about what I like about Marianne Williamson. Um, so I'm just going to plunge in with that. I like the fact that I like the way she makes me feel when she talks. Um, I have never watched. I have seen the news over the years, and I have seen politicians give speeches, and I have watched a few debates. I think I saw some of Trump and Hillary's debate, and I remember I had a fascination with Condoleezza Rice, and I used to watch her talk. But I have never in my life felt that feeling of yes, the same way that I feel, when I see Tori Amos perform or something like that, when someone is talking about politics ever in my life, because usually it's very, not vanilla even, I mean, it's like very hard to get through. And which is kind of funny because when politicians are campaigning, they're supposed to be trying to attract you. But I think that they do a very poor job at that. Anyway, and at the same time, it's not as if she's talking, like Marianne Williamson is talking about really serious things, like American history and slavery and economics and all these things that, could potentially be pretty hard to listen to. But she draws me in, at least in a way that I can really relate to what she's saying and get her point. And she convinced me on several topics that I might not have agreed with her until I heard the way that she explained it. And she's talking about a politics of love, and I noticed that I became more of a supporter even than I was before after I saw kind of the quite blatant attempts, I think, to weigh the dice against her by the media and by even by progressive media. It's I feel like progressive media has kind of dedicated itself a lot to Bernie Sanders, which and when I'm making this criticism, it's not a criticism of Bernie Sanders. It's a criticism of this approach to politics where we choose one candidate and then it's like we're so loyal that we become blind. And now I am following the same pattern because Marianne Williamson has convinced me that she is amazing. And you have to, like, when I became almost personally offended when I saw the way they were mocking the politics of love, because I think it's an insult to how well she does not only lay it out but practice it. I mean, what is the politics of love? Okay, here's some examples. You help people. Like she says, if you see a starving child, you feed them. Not only children, but other candidates in the race she's reaching out to. I mean, she hosted, when nobody knew who Bernie Sanders was, she hosted his announcement speech in 2016. And she just recently reached out to to her supporters, that they should donate to Mike Gravel so that he could make the second debates, and then it didn't happen, which was very sad. And also very, very telling, I think, because you can imagine if they had Mike Gravel, Bernie Sanders, and Marianne Williamson all on the same stage, the whole conversation would have been like what people think of as the center would have moved quite far left. Um, and sorry, Marianne Williamson has, I think, lauded Tulsi Gabbard's foreign policy at least 3 times in interviews. And she conducted the first ever convivial interview or kind of brainstorming session with a competing candidate with Mr. Andrew Yang. And it was, I don't care about big stuff, actually. It's little things like that that I think should be acknowledged as extremely big, because that's actually where really big change happens, is in those little nuanced things. That's the first time, like, people are laughing at her. Oh, politics of love, how could you do that? She's already doing it. Not only that, her performance at the first debate inspired a movement called the Orb Gang. Now, not everyone who supports Marianne Williamson obviously is in the Orb Gang. This is just a kind of pop culture term that has sprung up around especially the young people who found her debate style very entertaining after the first debate, and they began to create memes and also songs around some of the things that she said, and also some of the her old Twitter things that she said on Twitter, and then it kind of became, I mean, maybe I'm being presumptuous in saying this, but it seems to have become quite a lot of genuine support. And I know at least one member has said as much. And I think that not only is that an example of miracles at work, but it's an example of that the Department of Children and Youth is already forming around her. And so there's your politics of love. And not only that, like the fact that she reached out to Jacinda Ardern and then made news in New Zealand, like no other candidate did that. I don't think any other candidate was mentioned in any other country from those debates, apart from Marianne Williamson. So in a way, it was very clever, and as well as extremely nice thing to do. And I think that she's very inspired by the policies of Jacinda Ardern. So now I wanted to say also that I am a member of like 5 different groups on Facebook for Marianne Williamson, but I did particularly want to give a special special compliment to the Orb Gang, because they are, I think, really practicing a politics of love with humor, admittedly, but extremely genuinely supportive and sweet. And that's my position, that's my perception of the Orb Gang. And I mean, some people find the orb symbol very, I don't know, like ridiculous or dismissive, or I know that the media has used it that way a little bit, but the Orb Gang in particular has embraced it as a symbol of power, and I think that's very, first of all, very clever, but I also think that it's quite perfect, actually. I mean, an orb is a symbol of wholeness, it's a symbol of, as a crystal ball, it's a symbol of seeing the future, so it's kind of like foresight and planning for the future. And, it's the earth and it's the atoms, and I don't know, I think it's, and it, the kings and queens used to carry an orb as their symbol of, well, dominion, really, and I don't think Marianne Williamson is about dominion, but she's heading for the highest office in the land. You know, it's not completely inappropriate. Um, and so I have witnessed a lot of sweetness and kind of people overcoming stuff that is not easy to overcome in the interest of helping Marianne in her campaign, which I think is also a function of when you believe in a politics of love, how powerful that is, especially when it's convicted and organized. The only thing I wanted to say is like sometimes the expressions or forms of in which a miracle can happen or in which something really positive can happen comes from an unexpected from an unexpected direction, and also in an unexpected form, almost like in disguise. So just if you are a supporter of Marianne Williamson and you're encountering all manner of people, because you do meet a lot of people during a campaign, remember that maybe slow down on judgment, because you know you want to be sort of forearmed against trolls and stuff, but I mean there are trolls who have become supporters, I think it seems to me, and just it's easier to discipline someone later than it is to open them up after you've shut them down. That's all I'm going to say about that. And I think that's also an aspect of the politics of love is to breathe before speaking. So anyway, it is a beautiful thing to see, and incredible to see how much momentum and force is behind this movement, and how many things that we already thought were impossible that have been achieved, and just take into account what that means. What you think now is impossible also may become possible very soon. So love to everyone, love to all the Marianne Williamson supporters, all the Orb Gang, and everyone who has been an inspiration in this campaign, and love to Marianne Williamson, who stepped up when it counted and really is putting herself out there in the front lines. And I know it's a very lonely kind of place to be. And I know that you're not doing it for yourself. So